Episode 51 of the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show is here. Sorry, no. Incorrect, Luke. Incorrect. Episode 52 of the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show is here. Starting off with the bang. All right. So it's been a minute, obviously, since we've recorded Mission to Disaster because we wanted to take the time and energy to dive into these comics so deep that we've analyzed every little bit of information because we're talking about Marvel's The High Republic 11 through 15, the final 5 comics of Phase 1. And by saying that, I did read the last comic. When I told you I needed 20 minutes, it's because I need to read that last comic and upload it, like get a couple
You're super
pictures.
fresh.
So it's fairly fresh. Or maybe worse because my brain is so fried from like school, like the last few days of school. So I have like over 300 kids and I teach 7 periods and I don't have a planning period this year. My lunch kind of gets taken over by some things. So let's just say it's a busy day out there and it was hot outside for soccer tryouts after school too. So
Oh man.
a little toasty, I'm like, ooh, it could be an interesting time. But all right. Enough about that, Luke. It's good to see you. I am excited for this episode, of course, because it's always a good time to talk timeline. And Luke, we're what, 231 BBY still? Is that correct?
We're probably firmly in 230. No,
Okay.
maybe about 231. We're getting close to that 231, 230 switch over.
Okay. All right.
Because this is before the Fallen Star, but we're led right into this arc by the previous episode. Mission to Disaster puts us right in here.
Yes.
So yes,
Basically, yeah. And then we'll end where we kind of leave everything off. So let's go. The first comic here is called Only Fear. And this is where Tarrant and was it Tarrant, I believe, that gets kidnapped by the Nile? Is that correct?
I think so. It's
They're
admittedly
so the
hard to
bond
tell these guys apart.
the Bond twins are so connected where Tarrant is affected by the Nile and the Nameless and is experiencing the torture that's going on at the hands of Lourna Dee and Zetar, the Tempest Runners for the Nile. They're torturing him with the Nameless, but Tarrant and then Sarah is also experiencing, or if it's flipped, it's flipped, but Sarah is also experiencing that torture because they are, so connected, which is an interesting thing that these Bond twins are so connected that if one is experiencing such torment and pain and the husking of the Nameless over here, that the other would be experiencing the same thing over here.
Also, you're right. It is Tarek that is with
Derek, okay.
Keeve at this point, physically with her. So yes.
Okay. Well,
And
there we
they are
go.
Kotabi Bond twins. They are essentially one mind, split into two bodies.
One mind, one heart. Was it one destiny? It's like, I don't know. That was remember like the Bob Marley movie that came out, One Love?
Yes.
A few years ago. That was in the trailer. Like every trailer had that little line at the end. It's like one destiny. Every single one. And I'm like, okay, I get not wanting to show too much of the movie, but could we at least not we could cut some different parts of the trailer up for the teaser trailer. Like it's the same one at the movies every single time. Sometimes you get a little different ones, but or even on TV, on the social media, it was the same one over and over. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I get it. And there's a few movie trailers where every time I go to the movies, I'm like, all right, I'm hype about this movie trailer. Like I saw the Avatar trailer recently, a couple weeks ago, and I know every time I go to the movies until I see that film come out in December, I'm gonna be super hyped for that trailer specifically. The Bob Marley movie was not one that topped that list, I guess.
And still it sticks with you.
And still it persists. But another fun thing from that comic was Skier really losing control. Ooh. And so I love kind of the way that he's depicted here. Some of these images where he's just launching down off of the ship and he is just meleeing Nile left and right, showing no mercy, killing and striking first. And Avar is a little overwhelmed, going, oh my goodness, like we should not have let him come. We thought maybe he turned a corner, but he hasn't. And Luke, he reveals something to Keeve later of what he's really been struggling with. Would you enlighten us on what Skier is struggling with?
So it's been hinted at for kind of the entirety of this first 10 issues. And we get to this point where it's finally at a breaking point, and Skier needs to tell us that he's got the common Trandoshan illness where you kind of just your brain kind of just psychic break, and you kind of go mad. Um, and due to this, him being a Jedi, it's affecting his ability to perceive the Force, ability to interact with it. He's losing, has almost completely lost his ability to commune with the Force. So it's huge.
And he's lost that ability to commune with the Force, and it kind of reduces him down to the base instincts of a Trandoshan. And obviously, we know Trandoshans, by their nature, are usually very aggressive, very attack, strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir, kind of Trandoshan like qualities. And he is experiencing that. But imagine what that would be like for a Jedi, first and foremost, but anyone, to not be able to control like your emotions, not being able to control your outbursts. And in his mind, he still is aware that he shouldn't be doing these, but he has no control over that. And that is one, scary, and because of how powerful Skier is, but two, it's also heartbreaking knowing that, Skier is such a loving, caring Jedi and has this great relationship with Keeve, who's watching her master struggle and then finally realizes what's wrong.
It's on a different look at it is it's a really bad PR move for the Jedi, for him to be there, because the Nile can look at him and say, like, you guys are just like us. Look at that Jedi who is completely savage, completely just, you guys are no different than us. We're both just warring factions taking each other on. Like, you guys aren't, you don't have any moral high ground to stand on. Look at him. Look at Skier. So the Jedi have to grapple with keeping to their morals, but also trying to keep other members, not just an inner struggle for yourself, but like keeping your own master. Keeve having to, she's been the student, but now she has to keep her teacher in check. This is a near impossible task. How do you even overcome that in your mind to be able to confidently do that?
As you say that, it it just shows how Star Wars memified my brain is, because I'm already thinking, you said moral high ground, and I'm thinking, all right, how can we create some sort of moral high ground meme? And then you said, Keeve, she was but the learner, and now she's having to help her master. And I'm just thinking of Keeve walking in with Skier, who's struggling with this Megrack or whatever it's called syndrome that Trandoshans struggle with, and she's like, Skier, you were but the learner, now I am the master. I'm like, I just gotta chill over here. Like, I gotta relax and not go overboard with it. But you know what? That's okay. Episode 12, or sorry, issue 12, episode 12 of the High Republic. Oh,
I've read comic issues. I've read comic runs before where they're actually called episodes that you read. So
I dream of the day where we're able to say, all right, we're going on episode 12 of the High Republic Adventures on Disney Plus. Like, I long for those days. I dream about them. I have, illegal thoughts about what it might be like to have High Republic stories floating around out there in live action. And I'm not counting the Acolyte. That's not High Republic. I'm sorry. As much as I wanted it to be, it just didn't feel like the High Republic to me. Although Crystal Crown, I just finished Crystal Crown. It was fine. It's not great. It's aggressively fine, but it does make me really love Yord and Jecki like a lot. There's a lot of things I really like there. I just never felt the stakes, but it is a book I would reread. It's weird where I would give it like a 6 out of 10, but it's one of those that I would go back and reread again. Like, I would actually want to go open that again at some point, because it's just it's a fun story, lighthearted. No, not lighthearted, like laid back, almost laid back, because it's not this galactic stakes type, story, but it's also, I don't have to worry about knowing anything else with the characters other than that they're going to meet brutal ends, which kind of just sucks. Like, it really just sucks reading the story too, because you just feel yucky the whole time. And that's part of I guess what makes it work. But for me, I live off of like hope and optimism sometimes, and I'm such a positive person, I feel like it's hard for me to read this book where every character I'm reading about is going to die this in a brutal way. Even Master Soul in the book, I'm like, oh my gosh, it just sucks. And it's different than maybe reading a Clone Wars book when it's like there's so many stories fleshed out with those characters. Like the only other thing I have to go on with your Jackie and Master Soul is just their deaths.
Yeah, that's rough. I remember when that was announced that was coming out, and I was like, I did really like those characters. I really liked the Acolyte, but I think the show was enough. Hopefully, the book is good. So, a 6 out of
But
10. Okay.
but I honestly do think it's worth reading. It's weird. It's like a 6 out of 10,
Oh, I'm totally
5
gonna
or
read
6 out of
it.
10. Okay.
Yeah, I would. I would literally never skip a Star Wars book. I don't care how. 1 out of 10, I'm reading it. I don't care. It's Star Wars. So
I need that one. Like, oh, 1 out of 10. I'm gonna find the one. And well, so okay. So Spirit of Disunity is issue number 12. And there's not like, a lot of these issues, I felt like for these 5, it was like hard-hitting issue, really soft issue, hard-hitting issue, fairly soft issue, hard-hitting issue. And this one was more of a soft. Obviously, you have Lourna Dee holding, a lightsaber, and there's, some crazy things that happen in this one. Oop, that's the wrong one. But it was more of just kind of setting up, all right, they're going to escape. They're going to go to no space, and the Anoraxia is going to track them down to go to no space. You kind of get that confrontation between, Avar and, Stellan a little bit, and they're kind of going there back and forth where Stellan's going to end up taking over, at Starlight Beacon permanently for Avar after this. And Avar's just kind of going to do her own thing and kind of go to no space. And we kind of leave off in at issue 12 with that confrontation looming.
Absolutely. We also in these final 5 issues, we get a lot of Astala Maru. He becomes a little bit gradually more important as each issue goes on. He hasn't really played a major part in the novels up to this point, but this final arc of this comic run really made me really like Astala. He's just,
oh my gosh, we're gonna get to
trying to
that
keep
guy.
everything together.
Literally, we will talk about it literally. And I'm telling you right now, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but when Astala Maru dies in Fallen Star, you know that he dies. I did not really give a rip because I didn't really know him at all, because he's so much more like in these comic issues, and you don't really see him a lot in the adult novels other than just a handful of things. So I'm like, all right, Astala died. I mean, I guess, you don't want to ever lose a Jedi. But then
Right.
when it shows how he dies and how he goes out in this book, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy was like, Astala Maru was the goat. I mean, you are just broken. But we're not there yet, Luke. We're actually on issue 13, the Battle of No Space. And this one rocked. Oh my gosh. You had Avar's turn to lose control. And just look at the entrance that Avar has here. Oh my freaking gosh. She is just force launching Nile everywhere. You got the lightsabers of everyone coming behind her. She is slashing Nile, launching them to the side, almost like Vader in Rogue One having her little hallway moment. And that's what causes Keeve to really kind of go, oh my goodness, Avar's losing control. And for so much of this, we have the hero of Hetzel, the leader of the Jedi. She is the light that we see in ourselves. She combines and connects all the Jedi together. And now the light of the Jedi is literally being turned, into a darker, corner here. And in the comic book pages, they do depict her in a darker light as this comic goes on. There's more shadows overcast over her. She looks darker versus most of the time we see her in this, brilliant display of light front and center.
It's almost like she's going into the dark, which means at some point she'll have to come out of the shadows, actually.
And go into the light after she faces her ultimate trial. So bad.
I
So
do think this arc in particular gives her her closest brush with that dark side. that she'll have. At least one of the closest brushes she'll have. But her counterpart being Elzar Mann, who really isn't in this particular story, but she's pretty tied to that character. He's also someone who struggled with the dark side. I think it's interesting that
Of course.
a lot of his thoughts, a lot of his regrets and things that motivate him are regret from choosing the dark side
Absolutely.
in the Rising Storm. Here,
Mhm.
Avar does some very questionable things. She's very aggressive, very offensive here in this panel. Yet I don't see a lot of that from her. She kind of soldiers on.
Mhm. Well, it's
So it's
fascinating. It
interesting how they
really
both
sets her
handle
up.
that.
Like this sets her up for Eye of Darkness, where she's on her own, disconnected from from
Oh
Elzar,
yeah.
and really having to discover who she is at her roots. And I think this kind of really sets her up for that, where she has her brush with the darkness, and then she's given that opportunity in Eye of Darkness when future on, when she's on her own, where she's going to have the opportunity to, like, you can dip back into that whenever you want, but she's been into the dark, she's dipped into it, and she's going to come out the other side and always be, a force for the light. And when we talk cosmic endings to the High Republic, Avar
Mm.
has one of the most cosmic endings of all time that we'll get to at some point here in our timeline show. I can't wait. That's going to be a crazy episode. That's just going to
Oh
be,
man.
oh my gosh, can't even
Clear
imagine.
the
But
calendar. That's going to be a 4 hour.
there's going to be a 10-hour bender, 24-hour live stream for Trials of the Jedi timeline show. But there's just some great comic panels here where she's
Oh
using the
my
Force, and
gosh.
she literally just force ejects Lourna Dee from her armor that she's wearing, this big metal suit, and just completely destroys it. I mean, this one was fantastic here. And if you're listening on audio, it's just Avar using the Force with a green Nile cloud around her, and you have Lourna Dee and just metal fragments flying everywhere. And then Luke, I also wanted to point out, this one. Oh, maybe I don't have that one. Never mind. But I did have one where it was, oh no, here it is. Yes. So it's the one where she's about to strike a helpless Lourna Dee. Looks like she's going to kill Lourna Dee. And she's saying for light and life as she's about to kill her, which is just so dark considering what's being done.
So this stance that she's in directly mirrors the exact one of the exact stances that Anakin is in during his duel with Count Dooku in Revenge of the Sith. It's that motion. And they took that motion that Anakin does, and that's like a move that he does in Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's one of his abilities. And so I see this and I'm like, oh, this has like, I know where this is from. Like this is,
Mhm.
to me, a Star Wars someone who's very in Star Wars, and you get all these references. Like
Mhm.
this is reminding me of another character who started his dark path doing this same exact stance, same exact
Oh
move.
my
So
gosh.
for her
I'm trying
to
to.
avoid, turning to the dark side, letting things go too
Mhm.
far, this is possible. Anakin, he's ultimately responsible for his choices. I mean,
Mhm.
so it's just one of these like precipice turning points that this character reaches of ours. She has a good support system. Keeve is there, who's
Right.
amazing, who stops. Well, spoiler alert, when she
We'll talk about
finishes this swing down, she does not connect with Lourna Dee. It's
it.
actually Keeve
So
that
you
lights the
mentioned
blade and stops her.
Well, you mentioned Battlefront, and I want to talk about Battlefront for just a second, because what if we had like a capture the flag type mini game in
Mm,
Battlefront with only Jedi, and the Jedi were from every era, and if you had Avar, like you had Avar Kriss in Battlefront, and like one of her specials was the Song of the Force, and she could
gosh.
unite all the players you have left in the game to do some sort of like crazy feat, like you could force launch someone out of the game. Like you just take them out. Like you just kill Darth Vader instantly or something. I don't know, like some sort of OP type Song of the Force move where you have to have a certain number of people still alive, and Avar has to have a certain number of XP. But if she does, she uses the Song of the Force to connect everyone, and you can like resurrect someone. I don't know, something crazy. What do you think about that idea?
I think the High Republic in general, the the Force abilities that the Jedi are able to display lend themselves greatly to, like, there's so much more fantasy than what Star Wars already
Right.
is, and so that fantastical element, it does really lend itself to, like, I want this to be a video game. I want to use these moves. Like Avar
Yeah.
can connect all these people. I want to do that. Like, that'd be so fun to play with. So, oh,
Mhm.
it's
No.
smash hit, please.
Smash it, lock it up, we're good. Instant bestseller. All right, what about we have Edge of Destruction. This is the 14th issue. They've captured Lourna Dee at this point. She's on board the Anorexia, but then they've discovered that the Nile have infiltrated Starlight Beacon, and there's a big boom that goes off, and it's just chaos going everywhere. And this one really was a lot of setup for what we're going to get in like the final pages, of course. But did you have any thoughts about 14, or you really want to just kind of jump into the meat of potatoes of this one, and that's really the 15th issue?
We do see that Lorna is able to kind of capture. She's able to, like, put a blade to Keeve's throat.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's just a lot of negotiation that has to go through with, like, those three in that room, those three women, such powerful women.
Right.
But also we have, for no reason at all, I'm just going to mention the character Nurin Bakarakana. I think that was
Oh.
ridiculous to name a character that long of a name. I think that's insane to do, and I think she's kind of cool. So she's just someone who's flying the ataraxia. But no, this really leads us to, like, the emotional point.
Mhm.
Everybody's getting to that emotional height of breaking, and then we get to the point where Starlight Beacon breaks. So
But
that's where it
they
puts
get
us.
there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's holding Starlight Beacon together? The top half, the bottom half, they should both be coming apart at this
They
point."
should be.
But they are not, because of the man himself. Estala Maru
Boom.
is literally he's levitating in the air, the force, holding all of Starlight Beacon together in this incredible display of power and willingness to fight, and having their eyes set on the light, and waiting until like every single person is out of like the middle section, or anyone that could be saved was saved until ultimately he lets go. But this was just an epic moment where you knew it was inevitable when you saw him up there. But a lot of times we see Estella Maru and he's very, he's like, oh my gosh, he's doing all 1,000 things at once because he's the communications guy and he's making sure everything's functioning right on Starlight Beacon. And he's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Or he's very calm, cool, and collected in his one-on-ones. And here we have him solely focused on one task, not everything going on around. He's on one task only. And it is truly remarkable what Jedi can do with the Force when faced in these situations.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. It's oh man, because he's the guy that's at HQ. He's always behind the computer.
Right.
He's always working on some kind. He's like working on his laptop, working on his pewter, and for him to then be thrust into, like, we need you to physically save
Mhm.
this station. I don't think anybody would have thought to turn to Estella Maru, but for him to step up and go, you know what? I know the inner workings of every panel of this thing. Like, I can hold it all together. Like, it kind of does. It's like a, not directly, but it kind of makes me think of Ram Jamaram, who's like, he thinks of everything and how it, like, gears shifting and works together. I'm
Yeah.
sure Estala thinks of some kind of similar
Mhm.
way. Like, his brain is probably like Microsoft Excel. That's how he sees the Force. It's just like formulas and keeping things straight. And so I'm sure that his Excel is like breaking right now in his brain,
Mhm.
and
Do you
he's
think he
giving it
has all
all.
the Excel formula, like, do you think it's like an Excel formula cheat sheet down there, or do you think he's got them all memorized, like all the formulas memorized, like every
I
little shortcut or code?
I think he's the type who enjoyed memorizing it all. He was like, "Oh, this is so fun! Like,
I
I
hate him
love
so
this."
much already. I hate him so much. But you have Avar and Keeve that are the ones discovering him up there, and whenever Estala ends up, you know, leaving, he or dying, like leaving, but he forces Avar out. Like Avar wants to stay and let him go and go down with the ship, so to speak. But Estala basically, uses his Troy to get her out and making sure that, she survives because he calls her the light. And he's like, you were always the light inside of us, or to show us the way. And he's like, that light must survive. And he knows how critical and pivotal Avar will be to making sure that the Nile and this darkness that's attacking them are not going to continue to persist.
Yeah, and we won't spoil Trials of the Jedi. It does make me think about her wanting to, levitate herself up here and try to help. It's also, she was the Marshal of Starlight Beacon. If she's going to go down
Right.
with the ship, like this is technically her ship to go down with, but for her to abandon her post, like we've seen, this is the comic run, all 15 issues is her kind of abandoning her post to go chase Lourna Dee, who's she thinks is the Eye of the Nile, who is not. It's just the Jedi don't view this very well. That they don't think that she's fulfilled her duty very well to Starlight Beacon.
Right.
So for her to be in this position, I mean, after this comic issue and really the end of this comic issue, she couldn't be filled with more guilt that she left her post, comes back, and it is irrevocable, like irreparably damaged.
And before Astala finally goes out, Avar wants to make sure that everyone is connected and kind of figure out what the situation is. We want to get all these people out as best we can, and the only way we could do that is to try to connect the Jedi. So for a moment, she wants to help Astala, hold on for just a little longer. And the best way for her to do that too is to have, use the Song of the Force, her Force ability to connect each Jedi and let the Force flow through all of them together. But what's so cool about this comics part too is you have Avar front and center, and then you see Keeve, Astala, Bell, you have Stellan, you have Elzar, you have Vernestra, you have Buckets of Blood, Buryaga. There's just all these Jedi around, and we know there's so many more on Starlight Beacon too, but there's also some that have already fallen.
Exactly. They've been fallen stars, I guess you could say.
Or the fact that Orla Jareni is not on here because she's already dead makes me so sad.
Yeah. I do like this spread specifically because it's like kind of all of the main characters, like Vernestra, Buryaga, and Bell are our two bonded pairs, and they're so important to the main storyline going through this. And Stellan is about to pass. We've already covered that book that he does pass. Yes. So Elzar's there. I mean, it's all of our main players. Buckets of Blood isn't maybe like a super main player for all the Republic, but he's super important to High Republic Adventures for those kids. So each like silo of storytelling is hit on in this panel, I think.
I would actually really agree with that. And then we're left with this image of Avar on the surface, just essentially just completely broken, and in the arms of Keeve, who is a Jedi that Avar knighted. Like Keeve is someone that has always looked up to Avar, aspired to be Avar, and now she's the one consoling her and realizing that she has to figure out how to stop what has happened. What happened? How do I stop it? What's my purpose and plan to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Like so much of that is Keeve's responsibility, or at least what she's taking upon herself to have that responsibility.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the final page of this book. Oftentimes they're called books. I mean, this is, Kevin Scott wrote a book, and this is what it is. So the final page is this, and I love that the final line is for light and life, because that doesn't die, even though hope seems like it's died. That look of determination on Keeve's face, it's powerful. Like she's set and determined to get the light and life back into the universe.
It's like there's always these pivotal moments in Jedi's life. There's the Padawan moment where they go through something where they are forever changed and they become like a new version of themselves, right? Very sure of themselves. They're not quite ready for the trials yet, right? But this is like a great Padawan moment. And then there's like the moment where they are now ready for the trials, and they take their trials, or what they've gone through is considered their trials, right? And then they're a newly knighted Jedi. And I feel like Keeve, for a lot of, this part of the arc, was that newly knighted Jedi trying to find their footing in all of this. And this moment here, it's like, yeah, this is a Jedi Knight. This is someone that is for light and life, and I could trust to pave the way forward, because this was like a defining moment there. And I love, we're going to talk about it with Tales of Light and Life. There's a moment where she pops up in a Tales of Light and Life story that also encapsulates this for me, which I'm really excited that now that we're wrapping up kind of phase 3 with these comics, that once we get through like Young Jedi Adventures, like the rest of season 2, we'll be able to get into some Tales of Light and Life, because they're just these small, shorter stories that are very special to me.
Oh yeah, it's I remember when that came out. I actually didn't know it was coming out. I thought my next book that I was going to read was going to be Eye of Darkness, and then kind of like
Uh,
2 months before that was like I realized, oh, there's like a collection of short stories that are gonna like be. Think about what happens in that book. I mean, there's really, really important things that happen in
mhm.
those collection of short stories. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see Keeve a lot more. She's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to do that, and we'll be getting back to our phase, 3 High Republic comics before too long. But Luke, thanks for hopping in here. We got the timeline show done, a little quicker one here, just 30 minutes here of these comics. We got things to do. As you can tell, my voice is already going because I've been, doing 6th grade PE. Is a new job for me this year, doing 6th grade PE. When you got 50 plus kids in a class, the voice kind of goes by a little bit faster. I'm doing a lot of talking right now, which I'm not there's a lot of talking right now in class versus the action, since we're only a few days in. You got to go through all these things over and over, but it's all good. It's all good. But Luke, appreciate you. Love you, brother. I'm excited for our next episode. Are we what we got on the docket here? Do we have, is it Eye
I
of the
have
Storm?
I have on the docket. There's a couple more comic runs to wrap up
Okay.
phase 1 completely. So next up, directly next, I have us finishing out High Republic Adventures.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. I forgot we have to do High Republic Adventures. Okay, yes. All right. We'll see what's going on with Lula, Zine, Core, Farzala, and company. I'm excited. I love that group. I love that group so
It's a
much.
great group.
So that'll be fun. All right. For Light and Life, everyone, remember out there that we are all the Republic. Oh, I gotta hit end. Now we're